Update. Am I the a-hole for being upset that my husband used my bonus on him? Original story. History. My husband, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been married about 4 years now. We dated in college and got married after. He finished college with a finance degree and thought he would go into accounting. Well, he quickly found out that was not his passion. So he bounced around jobs and ideas. Business, teacher, lawyer. But nothing really kept him saying, this is what I want to do. This was pre-COVID. Since COVID, he has attempted anything. He says after the pandemic there will be a boom in jobs and he can find something that he's passionate about. I have been working full-time and thankfully my job became remote and pays the bills while keeping food on the table. Incident in question. After the fiscal year closed, my work had done really well. We're selling medical testing equipment, so it was a big product of 2020. I was given a promotion. I got a little pay raise and a small bonus. I was really excited because I could finally repair my purse and replace my shoes. My friend's puppy destroyed, but I acknowledge I should not have left my purse on a low stool in front of the puppy's bed. So, my fault. I was so excited to tell my husband, but he seemed more excited than me over this promotion. He started going off about how he could redo his game area and get the new system since he was tired of his others. And I was dumbfounded. I got really quiet because I almost could not believe what he was saying. He eventually goes out and gets himself a new system, chair, and mouse. He had basically spent my bonus. I was so upset and ultimately hurt and numb. We ended up getting into an argument, and he called me selfish for not being happy that he got to achieve his dream, and I am spoiled for being upset I couldn't spend this money on myself first. I basically called him an ungrateful a-hole and asked why does he deserve new stuff when I have been providing. He got really quiet on that one and stormed out saying he would be staying with his family, only about an hour away. I have been getting angry calls and texts due to the fact he didn't feel supported in his own home. And if I'm making the money, I can get whatever I want when I want. And I shouldn't throw it in his face that he doesn't have an income, which is not true. I'm trying to keep a roof over our head and food on the table. All his friends and family think I way overreacted to something that makes my husband happy. And that the next time we get a large sum of money, my husband said he would let me repair my purse. I haven't responded and don't think I will for a few days. But I have gotten so many "you're such a witch" and the a-hole, I'm starting to wonder if I really am. Summary. Husband is bored with his game system stuff, so he used my bonus and raced to buy him a new one without my permission. And when I got upset, I was labeled selfish and unsupportive. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Also, as someone who's been in a relationship with this type of person, lawyers can be found on Google. Thank you for your input. I was hoping it wouldn't reach there, but after this, I'm not sure. I would separate your checking account, although that would send him flying. I doubt that your husband will ever change. Not the a-hole. He is selfish and entitled. I would start separating your finances to protect your future self. Not saying you will split or should split, but this is reckless. I was hoping to not have to go there because I believe a marriage was a union between two people, that they shouldn't have anything entitled to them. But after thousands disappeared, I'm starting to wonder what this union means to him. I was assuming hundreds. Thousands? That is absolutely unacceptable. Start a personal savings account with direct deposit now. Sort the details later. Not the a-hole and is trying to manipulate you into feeling bad, rather than taking responsibility for his terrible actions. You clean the house and make the money. What does he bring to your relationship? What is done is unacceptable, childish, and selfish. I'd return his new toys and tell him to stay at his parents until he gets a clue about adult life. I'm not saying divorce him, but do not let this slide even an inch. Don't give in to his gaslighting. You are right. There is no argument in the world that he can make to justify his behavior. Thank you for this. I felt so hurt that he could spend it like nothing, and then I am supposed to be the bad guy. I think this is the first time where I felt my partner isn't my partner. Edit/update. Wow, thank you everyone. I was not expecting this kind of support. I appreciate all the kind messages and compassion. This is more than I have ever felt in my life, so thank you, Reddit. I took the weekend to reflect on what I want and read through the comments and messages. I see your point, and that I can't keep treating this like a marriage if he doesn't. So here's to today and my first step towards freedom. I am separating the finances immediately and contacting a local lawyer to see my options and rights, as well as therapy options for him. I will present this to him and he gets to choose. But I refuse to baby an almost 30-year-old. If he wants that, well, he has his mother. Thank you, everyone. I will try and update in the future. And now for the update. I first want to thank everyone who reached out and snapped me out of these days with my soon-to-be ex. He was extremely toxic and just made me feel not even worth anything. This is probably why it was so hard to see, wasn't it? So I want to thank everyone who offered words of encouragement and even a tough love. I needed to hear it. After he went back to his parents, he was waiting for my apology, which I never did. And when he noticed I drained our joint bank, he escalated saying I was his, and how I could never actually leave him, and that he owed me. All of my success was his, and without him I would be a loser dropout. His family was even worse, because I had already blocked them. So they started making fake accounts and using apps to hide their number to harass me, saying I ruined their son's life, and how he sacrificed everything to get me where I am. To throw him to the side like this was disgusting and I deserved a rod. I provided all this to my lawyer, who recommended to take a restraining order, in case he wanted to escalate further, and to not engage ever, but just keep the records. This has caused my anxiety to go through the roof, and I am working on this with my therapist. I have separated the finances completely and changed my banks. Even told them my soon-to-be ex is never allowed to access these accounts because he would take it all and run. I have changed my number and gone completely social media-less. Besides this, part of me is broken that our marriage came to end over a computer. I keep thinking I'm stupid, and how I couldn't see the warning signs. I must look like a fool to everyone. All in all, I'm slowly picking up the pieces of my life and figuring out how to move forward. Thank you to anyone still reading this, and thank you everyone who helped me get here. Summary: I am officially filing for divorce after I never apologized to him, which only made my soon-to-be ex-husband and his family started harassing me to the nth degree. I was having a panic attack every time the phone rang, so I had to change my number and delete my social media. I am gaining my freedom from my toxic partner and his family. Your marriage didn't come to an end because of a computer. It came to an end because of your significant other. That just happened to be the final straw that opened your eyes to the reality of your relationship. I know this hurts, but it will get better. I tried to remember this. It didn't end because of one event. But of course I got put on blast for divorcing over a computer and get labeled immature. It hurts, but I know I can't listen to them or I will forever be a cash cow to my ex. Tell them your ex said all that crap about owning you, and you being a loser who wouldn't make it without him. If they get back on your side, they're worth keeping around. If not, take out the trash while you're getting rid of the dumpster fire that is your ex. A few friends were on my side, but I lost the majority. They keep saying how I am selfish, and how I would be okay because I have the job. Marriage is for better or for worse, not just something convenient. How would I feel if my husband was making money, and I bought something to make me feel better because I was depressed, and my husband divorced me? So I dropped trying to plead my case. They can have him at his family. For worse means things like illness or financial strife, not one person being selfish to the detriment of the other. It's a partnership, and he wasn't acting like a partner. I want to address this specifically. I must look like a fool to everyone. You absolutely do not. You look like someone who managed to find the courage to do something extremely difficult. Abusive relationships, and make no mistake, this was mistreatment. Financial abuse is a real thing, as is emotional abuse, are incredibly hard to escape from. Relationships require emotional investment, and even in a bad relationship, it's natural to think, I've put so much of myself into this relationship, so I need to try to fix it. Abusers know this, and will do everything they can to undermine your self-confidence, so that fixing an unfixable relationship seems more feasible than leaving it. I was so very proud that you were able to push past the manipulation, both from him and his family, and escape from that toxic relationship. And the fact that you're taking this seriously enough to involve a lawyer is great news, because it shows that you're not going to fall into the trap of, let's try to fix this one more time. So no, you don't look like a fool. You look like a woman who has finally realized her worth as a person. And unlike a bonus from work, your soon-to-be ex-husband can't take that away from you. This made me tear up. Thank you for these words. I really had no self-value or worth coming into this. Even in therapy, I broke down, saying I had failed my marriage and I was getting a divorce because I am unhappy. I now see this thinking is due to the emotional mistreatment from my ex. I never felt good enough and like I was walking on eggshells in my own home. I am thankful he took the steps to get a lawyer because we have been able to document all the verbal harassment from his family. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for transferring shared funds to a personal account? Some background story. I, 35 male, and my wife, 33 female, live together in a medium-sized apartment. She works as a teacher, whereas I work as a pharmacologist for a major biotech company. This means there is a very large pay gap between us. So we both share an account so that we can both pay for necessities and other things. Recently, though, I've noticed a lot of strange activity in the account. She has been withdrawing and depositing large amounts of money recently, like thousands of dollars large. I went to confront her about it. And as it turns out, she has been doing some very risky trading in the stock market. I was not pleased with this, and I felt betrayed that she would gamble our money like that. She just said that I needed to trust her and pointed out that in the past week, around when it started, she has increased the account's value by about 10%. In the end, it devolved into a screaming match and no progress was made. After a lot of thinking, I decided that I would protect my share of the money, since I believe there is a high likelihood that she will start chasing losses and lose all of the money in the account. So I transferred my contribution, about 65%, to a personal account and started cashing my checks to that account. Well, as soon as she found out, she was livid. She said that it was unfair for me to only leave her with 35% of our income since we were married, and she would not be able to adjust to such a salary cut. She wants me to transfer everything back to the communal account immediately and has stopped talking to me. It was never my intent to hinder her quality of life, and I'm debating transferring her some of the money so it would be split 50-50, but I really want to protect my contribution to the account from her reckless trading. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You should have 3 accounts. Yours, hers, and joint. Have all bills get paid from the joint account. Then you can protect your money. She's free to spend her money and invest. Agreed. This is how my husband and I handle it. I have a spreadsheet that breaks down bills and how much we both make. Then we contribute to the joint account based on those numbers. For example, say bills are $1,000 total a month. Say I make 40% of our total income and my husband makes 60%. I will put $400 in the joint and he does $600. Anything outside of that is for us to do with as we will. It works well for us and we have shared it with a few couples who've argued over finances in the past and it's worked for them as well. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She's happy to see your money go into some investing company's account, so why would she care so much when it goes into yours? Because then she doesn't reap the benefits. He does. Just like if there is a loss, he takes a hit on the loss as well. I need to be clear, I don't mind her using shared money for this. If she talks about and discusses it first, since it was joint money. Not the a-hole. Though I feel you could consider a different approach. Just a suggestion. Your wife is dealing in stocks. Sometimes some people have a knack for it. Sometimes people become very much involved. Read a lot in different companies before buying/selling stocks. Your wife is trying something new. How about you both set a budget for your wife to invest in stocks? You both can also decide on a timeline. Example, she gets 6 months, and if you both realize that it is going in losses, give it up. There's a few things here. First, we don't know if she's trading stocks, because OP didn't say. She could just as easily be trading options, cryptocurrency or forex. If it's one of those 3 options, she's putting their money at major risk. Trading legitimately is one of those things that it doesn't matter how skilled or knowledgeable a trader is. They can still lose massive, and I mean massive amounts of money. Even the professionals and retail traders that do profit take $1,000,000 plus losses at times. The market is unpredictable, especially in times like this. Well, over 95% of traders lose money trading every year. If she was actually being safe with just stock trading, she would have that money in an index account with solid returns. I highly doubt that's what she's doing from the post. Don't believe me? My boyfriend does this stuff, and I hate it. He's probably lost 30,000 plus this past year alone in options, crypto, and forex. One of his losses was 18,000 in one trade. This stuff really isn't a joke. OP needs to protect himself now, and he needs to do it fast. Not the a-hole. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for going on a camping trip instead of staying home with my pregnant wife? I know the title might sound bad, but the story is that 12 years ago, myself, 32 male, my younger brother and our two close friends started a tradition that every year we go on a camping trip together. We weren't able to the past 2 years because my wife, 29 female, and I had our first child in 2019, and last year obviously wasn't a great time to be taking trips. So this year, me and my brother and our friends agreed on going camping. I told my wife, who is currently 25 weeks pregnant, about it 3 weeks before, and she wasn't happy. She said I can't just leave her alone while she's pregnant. She said that she's anxious because our daughter was born premature at 27 weeks, and she's scared it's going to happen again with this pregnancy, and that I wasn't going to be there with her. I reminded her that this camping trip was only going to be for 2 days. I'm only a few hours away, and that I highly doubt anything is going to happen while I'm gone for the weekend. She told me, do whatever you want. I went camping last weekend, and when I came home, my wife has been in bad mood ever since. I tried to discuss it with her because I don't understand why she's so mad at me, and she tried saying that I never prioritize her, and that I need to grow up because I'm a dad now. Then she proceeded to call me a self-absorbed a-hat. I feel guilty now. She and my daughter have always been my first priority and my main focus. All I did was go away for 1 weekend. Am I the a-hole? Ordinarily, I would say at 25 weeks, she can manage. But if you have history of a 27-week preemie, then yeah, you're the a-hole. Did the trauma of the first time around escape you? Does the stress of your wife must be under hoping not to go through that again not mean anything? I had a 31-weeker, and the whole situation was the most physically and emotionally traumatic situation I've ever been through. I've never felt so helpless and frightened. I will not put myself through another pregnancy because I can't risk it happening again. Your wife must be having to work really hard to be strong, and for you to just bugger off with your mates at such a vulnerable time is definitely a major a-hole move. I read a title and was prepared to say you weren't the a-hole, but boy was I wrong. Premature birth can be terrifying, and coming up on a point in a pregnancy where something went wrong the last time is a special kind of torture. It wasn't just a weekend. She let you know she was scared and anxious and vulnerable, and you completely dropped the ball. Not to mention what she would have been feeling if she had gone into premature labor without you there. Stop saying your wife and child are your first priority and make them that. You're the a-hole. She and my daughter have always been my first priority and my main focus. All I did was go away for 1 weekend. These sentences contradict each other. You're the a-hole. An oxymoron said by a moron. It's poetic, honestly. You're the a-hole. You ignored your pregnant wife's wishes so you can go camping. Clearly, she's not a priority. At the time you went, she was roughly 5 to 6 months along, which is when it starts getting difficult for her to do things on her own, including looking after your daughter. You need to do something special for your wife, who's going through a lot hormonally and mentally, so that she knows you prioritize her. Am Am I the a-hole for spending my daughter's wedding fund on a car and a trip after she got eloped? My only child, Diana, and her now husband started dating in college and had been engaged just before the pandemic hit. After not being able to really plan for over a year due to everything, they decided a couple weeks ago to just take a trip, just the two of them, and elope. I'm very happy for them, and honestly, I'm glad to not have to deal with the stress of wedding planning. I had about $35,000 set aside for her wedding in an account I've had for a long time. After she told me the news, I was thrilled to be able to put it to other use. My car has been having some trouble lately, so I decided to just treat myself and get a new car in cash with the wedding fund. I paid about $30,000, and with the rest of the money, my wife and I decided we would take our little getaway. I didn't think this was controversial. Then, this past weekend, Diana was over and asked that since I didn't have to pay for a big wedding, if they could get the money to use towards a down payment. I told her sorry, but that's how I paid for my new car and will be paying for my upcoming trip. To say she was upset is an understatement. I figured I'd just let her cool off. But then last night, my ex, her mom, called me to telling me I made a selfish move and said some more things I won't repeat. I never told her it was a wedding or whatever she wanted fund, so I didn't think I did anything wrong. Would really appreciate some non-biased perspectives. Edit. Sorry if I worded this poorly, I'm not the best writer. I'm a blue-collar guy. She knew that I had money put aside for her wedding. It was something we talked about when she first got engaged over a year ago, but it's come up at times before that too. Just something I planned for due to having a daughter. I never told her it was a fund for her to use on whatever. I paid for her college and planned on paying for her wedding. But beyond that, didn't plan on paying her way through life. My parents couldn't help me out financially in life, so my goal was to pay for her schooling and wedding so she could start adulthood on the right foot. I felt like I accomplished that. We are far from wealthy. I did not go to college, but I always did my best to save and be responsible with money so I could help her start off the right way. I never expected to be paying her way through life. Maybe it's a dated traditional mindset, but I always believed after your kids officially start their own family, your job as a provider has been accomplished, and it is their turn to provide for themselves. Now it's my time to put myself and own finances as #1 priority. I had her very young, 19, and still have a lot of working years left until retirement, hence the need for a reliable car. Now for the top comments. Note: OP paid for his daughter's entire college tuition and living expenses, so she's starting out in life with zero college debt. Isn't that gift enough? Not a-hole. I can hear where the daughter is coming from. She feels that the money was supposed to be used for her, and since her big wedding didn't happen, she should be able to use it for another purpose. That said, she's being entitled here. If she discussed this situation with her dad beforehand, we decided to elope. Would you be open to giving us the wedding money to spend on a house, etc.? Then they might have worked something out. Our dad could have said no. The issue is that she assumed it was still hers and is now disappointed that they can't buy a house right away and is behaving childishly. OP, you are not an a-hole. Daughter is allowed to be disappointed, but not an ungrateful entitled brat. Especially since you paid for all her schooling. Not an a-hole. Parents paying for or contributing to a wedding is always a bonus. Whether you had it in a separate account or you would have paid out of your normal accounts, still your money. If she truly felt she was entitled to this money, then she should have explicitly had a discussion with you prior to eloping. Like, I think we're going to skip the big wedding and just elope. How would you feel about using that money to help us toward a house? That's exactly what she should have done. Ask. It doesn't sound like OP would have given it to her, but who knows? It was a bold assumption of hers to think that money was sitting there for her to do whatever she wanted to with it. A wedding is for the whole family, not just the bride and groom. I'm going to give a tentative not a-hole, but realistically, this largely comes down to how the fund was discussed and handled between you and your daughter, and you're not very clear about that in the original post. A friend's parents had a wedding fund for her, and while not super clear about how it was discussed privately, she was able to use what she didn't spend on the wedding toward her honeymoon and house. I wouldn't go so far as to say that would be assumed, but again, it would come down to the understanding between you and your daughter, and we don't really know what that was like. Agreed. I can definitely see conversations about your wedding fund leading her to believe it was her fund. If Opie never said exclusively a wedding fund, I absolutely can see why she would think that. And it's not an unreasonable request to put your wedding fund toward a down payment. I know someone who asked her parents if she could put most of her wedding fund toward a down payment and have a smaller wedding. And they enthusiastically said yes, because the understanding that it was her fund to use towards something big that was probably going to be a wedding, because that's usually the biggest expense. Low-key, you're the a-hole for not discussing something you've been referring to as hers before you spent it, so she knew that she wasn't going to see any of that money for even a honeymoon or anything. Final response. This blew up way more than expected overnight. A lot of people have inserted their own assumptions out of nowhere. Promises that never happened, tension between stepmother, riches I don't have, an obsession with her getting married even though I said I was relieved she eloped, etc. Which is odd. Basically, what I've gathered from the vast majority is that I didn't do anything wrong, but I should have communicated more clearly. I thought that I was crystal clear, but I see now that I could have been even more clear. Thank you everyone for your time. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son out and threatening to take his tuition money after he trashed my house and crashed my car? My son turned 18 a month ago, and when he did, he asked if he could drive my car. Brand new RR. I of course said no. Last week, March 23, me and my wife had to go on a business trip and wouldn't be back until April 3. So we decided to send our 4 younger kids to my parents, but our oldest didn't want to go, so let him stay home. And the past has always proven to be responsible. Well, another son, 12, decided it was a good idea to eat 6 raw eggs, because apparently he thought it would make him stronger. Surprise, it didn't. He got sick and had to be taken to the hospital. We decided that one of us should head back to check on him, so I came back, March 26. When I got back, I got an Uber to the hospital to check on him, then I went to my parents and check on my other kids, and finally I went home to check on my oldest. When I got there, my garage was open and my RR was gone. My front door was open as well, so I thought we were robbed or something. And when I saw the inside of my house, I thought that it confirmed that. It looked like it was ransacked, except nothing was gone, just broken and out of place. I was terrified that my son was kidnapped because he was gone and he wasn't picking up his phone. Well, my car was gone, my house was destroyed, and my kid was missing. So of course I called the cops. Well, hours later, while police were investigating my house and looking for my son, and I was on the phone with my frantic wife, he pulled up in my driveway with my wrecked car and his friend in the front seat. Apparently, he threw a party, and when it was over, he decided to go for a joyride crashing my car. Of course I was pissed, so I kicked him out and told him not to come back. When my wife got home, I told her the situation and she said that I was overreacting and I should be happy that he was safe. She invited him over and said that I should apologize. And this boy had the damn nerve to say to me, "Well, next time just let me drive the car." And I tell you, I've never been so pissed at someone so much in my life. I went off and told him that he had 3 months to find a way to pay to get my car and house fixed. And if he didn't, then he's going to have to find a new way to pay for college next fall, implying that I was going to take the money meant for his tuition. And told him not to call me or return to my house if it had nothing to do with the damages, and kicked him out again. My wife called me a selfish a-hole, and perhaps she's right, but I'm still pissed while writing this. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but your kids sound like afterthoughts, and your oldest is probably resentful. Not the a-hole, and you need to have a talk with your wife about how this behavior is unacceptable. She seems to be fine with it, and that is especially troubling because it means you won't be able to correct it with one parent undermining you. Everyone sucks here. Kid, obviously. You for not aligning with your wife before doling out consequences. Wife, because she should be pretty hacked too, and I'm guessing she's let him have his way too often. Regarding the consequences themselves, honestly, I think they're reasonably proportionate to your kid's a-hat attitude. Appalling lack of respect and horrible behavior. He needs a serious wake-up call. Not the a-hole. Yes, it should have crossed your mind to ask if he was okay, but your wife needs to get up to speed. Your adult son, because that's what he is now as he is 18, threw a freaking party trashing your house. Your home, The literal biggest investment you'll ever make aside from life insurance or a child. He then followed this up by wrecking a car with a friend who could have died due to her spoiled son's negligence. All because Daddy told me I can drive this car. And instead of being remotely remorseful, he comes back and basically tells you both to your face, well, it's your fault because you told me no. Son or not, I would be pressing charges against him. It's not cool at all that your wife is trying to be mad at you and holds no anger at him. How's that happening? My mom would be the first to pop off. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not immediately rushing to my partner's daughter after she was hit by a car? I, female 34, have been with my partner, Jeff, male 36, for around 6 years. I have 2 daughters, Meg 10, Charlie 8, and Jeff also has 2 daughters, Alice 12, Sarah 9. We have 2 sons together, Jack 4, Lucas 2. About 6 months ago, Alice was hit by a car and badly injured. Jeff was at work, and my sister had dropped her 5-year-old and 3-year-olds off with me to play with my boys. Alice and Meg had taken their scooters to the local shop to buy some sweets. We live in a pretty safe town, and I'm happy to let the girls go to the shops and ride their scooters or bikes around, as long as one of the older girls is with them. Meg came dashing home crying that Alice had been hit by a car and was badly hurt. Meg was hysterical, and it was really hard to get any clear information from her. But she was able to tell me eventually that it was about a 10-minute scooter ride away, and that a lady was with Alice and had called an ambulance. I tried to run to my neighbor to see if she could look after the younger kids while I went back out with Meg, but she wasn't home. My car doesn't have space for all of the kids, or enough car seats for my nephews as well as my sons. I rang Jeff and his brother who lives local a few times, as well as Alice's mom and my sister, and couldn't get through anyone. I didn't want to take all of the kids with me by foot as it would take too long to get them there, and I also didn't want them to see Alice hurt, but I couldn't leave them home alone. Eventually, I got hold of a friend who promised to be there in 5 minutes to mind the kids. By the time I got to the accident site, the ambulance had already taken Alice away. She broke her leg badly and had a concussion, but is otherwise on the mend. She was really upset to be left with a stranger at the accident site and has had nightmares about it. Jeff was also really upset, but understood that I couldn't get there. However, few of Alice's mom's family have been angry at me, saying that I would have gotten there faster if it was Meg. I can't deny that I probably would have been a lot more upset and panicked if it was Meg. But equally, I tried everything I could think of to get there but not leave the other kids in danger. Am I the a-hole? Should I have left the kids in the house with Meg or found some way to get all down to the accident site with me? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole for some all-around parenting issues that culminated in this situation. Neither the 12 or 10-year-old have a phone, but you were letting them go around town? You think one of the older girls is okay to be in charge for that, but not to watch the 4 toddlers at home? Or she could watch 2 toddlers and you take the other 2 with you? You're babysitting extra kids without the ability to drive them anywhere in an emergency? You reached out to 4 different people and none of them even answered a text or call. Not even the mom whose kids you were babysitting? Why didn't your daughter or the woman who called 911 also call you instead of having the kids scooter 10 minutes home to you? How throwback are all of you when it comes to phones? And you admit you would have handled this differently if it were your biological child. For someone with this many kids and extras you apparently babysit, you seem woefully unprepared physically and emotionally for the type of emergencies that could rise. The oldest, 12, one would have been an okay age to look after the toddlers, or at least half of them, had she not been the one hit by the car. 10 years old, the one who came home, is not an age to leave at home looking after toddlers by themselves. Right? I think people are forgetting that there was a 2, 3, 4, and 5-year-old there. No 10-year-old would be able to manage that by themselves. As a father of step and biological children, seeing you admit elsewhere in the comments that you love your other kids more and you would have found a solution for your bio kid really upsets me. Offhand solution: the 8/9-year-olds can sit with the toddlers latched in a playpen while you freaking sprint to the child hit by a car. Children have no sense of time or distance. That 5 minutes was probably more like 2 minutes. She could have died with only a stranger to comfort her. Her sister came as fast as she could to get help and watched you do nothing. You're the a-hole. Edit. Lots of folks saying the older kids couldn't possibly handle the younger. I disagree fully, especially in emergencies. But everyone, including me, seems to be forgetting a key point. She had a car. She simply couldn't fit 5 kids in it to get to the 6th. Putting aside the fact that why do you only have a vehicle that you can't fit a family in, as there may be financial reasons. Why the hell not put the youngest kids in the car and leave the eldest home? The point is, there were multiple ways to solve this problem and OP pursued none of them, while clearly admitting she would have done so for her real kids because she loves them more. Honestly. Edit. Thank you for your honest judgment. A lot of you are saying what I feel. I honestly don't know what I would have done if it had been Meg that was hurt. The guilt is eating me up inside that I would have somehow found a solution for her, but I just can't think of what that solution would have been. The thought that I would have somehow found one if it had been Meg is hard to live with. I'm going to speak with Jeff tonight and show him this post. I do love Alice and Sarah, but I just can't help that I love my biological kids more. I don't know what's wrong with me. We only have the girls one weekend a month and in the holidays. But that isn't an excuse. I do love them, but you are all right. They deserve more. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for only punishing my stepson and not my son, even though they both broke each other's laptops? I'm, female, a mom of 2. Chris, 16 bio, and Sammy, 13 stepson. I've been married to Sammy's father for over 4 years. The boys argue sometimes, but nothing huge, just minor everyday issues. And since my husband is busy all the time, he's a nurse, I handle the boys' issues. Last week, Chris was bringing Sammy's laptop from his rooms and Sammy asked. Chris unfortunately fell off the stairs, injured his knee, and Sammy's laptop broke. Sammy was mad, although it was an accident. I told him I'd get it fixed quickly. However, he kept bringing it up and arguing with Chris about it even after Chris apologized. The next day, Chris showed me his laptop and was crying, saying Sammy did it to get even. That was unacceptable behavior. Sammy didn't deny it. In fact, brag about it and said Chris will learn not to mess with his stuff. I was so mad at him, I told him he made a mistake and told him he was grounded. My husband told me to hang on a second and ask why I only punished Sammy, although Chris broke his laptop. I said it's different. Chris didn't mean it. It was an accident. But Sammy planned to and damaged Chris's laptop. My husband called me ridiculous since it's the same outcome. Said it's fair to ground Chris too, but I refused. We started arguing, and my husband told me what I'm doing doesn't look good because I'm showing favoritism and it'll ruin the kids' relationship. I insisted it was unfair to ground both kids, and he insisted I was playing favorites. Sammy's upset already. I took both laptops to the store to get them fixed, and my husband sent me a text with the word favoritism typed like this, saying he handled the entire thing the wrong way. Intent matters here. Chris broke Sammy's laptop accidentally. Sammy broke Chris's laptop on purpose. While it's true that both laptops are broken, only one was broken out of malice. Your assessment of the situation and who got punished is absolutely correct and not favoritism. Not a hole. The purpose of grounding is to learn. Does Chris learn not to fall? Probably not. But Sammy should learn not to break his stepbrother's stuff. Definitely not a hole. Not a hole. One was an accident. One was deliberate and cruel sabotage. It's absurd that your husband doesn't see that. Also kind of absurd that you seem to be fully responsible for caring both kids because your husband has a job? That text sounds like it came from a teenage boy. Yes, they aren't the same actions at all. Basing it on results is stupid. Not a hole. Your sons did not behave equally, so they shouldn't be punished equally. Intention matters. This is not a controversial idea. This is why manslaughter is not punished the same as premeditated murder. Your husband is the one showing favoritism, and he needs to get it through his head that one of his sons destroyed property on purpose in an act of revenge. The thing that will ruin your sons' relationship with each other is if it goes without consequences.